Good morning. I'm happy to be with you all today. We're having a family service, so the children will be an important part of this service. Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babadi Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Master, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Thank you for this opportunity to share together. Help us to open our hearts. Help us to calm our minds. Help us to feel our connection with Thee. Om. Peace. Amen. I will be a gypsy. I will be a gypsy. Roam, roam, roam. I'll sing a song that none has sung. I'll sing a song that none has sung. I'll sing to the sky. I'll sing to the wind. I'll sing to the sky, I'll sing to the wind, I'll sing to my red cloud, I'll sing to my red cloud. I'll roam, roam and roam, I'll roam, roam with Om. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. I will be a gypsy, I will be a gypsy, roam, roam, roam. I'll sing a song that none has sung, I'll sing a song that none has sung. I'll sing to the sky, I'll sing to the wind, I'll sing to the sky, I'll sing to the wind, I'll sing to my red cloud, I'll sing to my red cloud. I'll roam, roam and roam, I'll roam, roam with Om. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. I will be a gypsy, I will be a gypsy, roam, roam and roam. I'll sing a song that none has sung, I'll sing a song that none has sung. I'll sing to the sky, I'll sing to the wind, I'll sing to the sky, I'll sing to the wind, I'll sing to my red cloud, I'll sing to my red cloud. I'll roam, roam and roam, I'll roam, roam with Om. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. I'll be the king of the land through which I roam. So now I'll invite the people from the Sunday school to come up. They're going to sit up here while we do our next chant. This time, if you could just sit down, and we're going to do the chants, okay? So one thing I wanted them to share with you is the joy of having a young body and being able to do the full lotus pose with ease. So they'll do that while we do this chant to Narayana. Om Namo 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 Narayana. We'll have our meditation now. So sitting up straight, checking your spine. You want it erect but relaxed. Take a deep breath. Inhale slowly. Hold the breath and tense the body. Hold the tension, all the muscles. Exhale and relax. Again, inhale slowly. Hold the breath, tense the body, legs, arms, and relax. One more time. Inhale and slowly tense and relax. Now feel that relaxation. Let's start in your feet. Feel that relaxation in your feet. There's an actual feeling, a calmness. And then feel it's like a wave working its way up through the body, up through the ankles, and then the lower legs, just feeling that relaxation, all the muscles, releasing any tension. And feel that in peace in your knees, in the upper legs, the thighs, and all around the middle of the body, the hips, the abdomen, stomach, lower back, completely relaxed. And let that flow come up through the stomach, the chest, upper back, and focusing on the fingers, making sure the fingers are relaxed, hands, wrists, forearms, elbows and upper arms, and all up through the shoulders and the neck and throat, feeling out like a wave of peace working its way through your body, releasing every aspect of tension. All through the face now, cheeks, lips, tongue, relaxing your eyes, ears, all through the top of the head, forehead, and your brain. Till all there is one continuous wave of peace from the bottoms of your soles up through the top of your head. Let's focus that peace at the point between the eyebrows. Feel that peace flowing into your mind and your thoughts. Relaxing any worries, letting go of any plans. Letting that peace bring us into the present moment. All of us together sharing that one peace. Let's sit quietly for a little while and just let that peace flow all around our bodies, all around the room. Blessing everyone in the room. Now we live in a world that needs that peace. People are so sad and worried, but we can be instruments for sharing that peace, channels. That peace can come through us and reach out as a blessing to every single person we meet, whether it's at school or our job, our home. Everywhere we go, we can be an instrument for peace, to help uplift around us. So let's visualize that peace flowing through us, especially in our hands. And we're going to rub our hands together to draw that energy into our hands. We're going to chant Om 3 times to send that peace out all around the planet. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So next part of our program, you can all stand up for the songs. So the words to this song are, all the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I stretch out my hands and smile, when I live from above. And they have learned some beautiful movements to go with it. We will sing it for you 3 times, and you're welcome to join us if you can figure out the words. All the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I stretch out my hands and smile, when I live from above. All the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I stretch out my hands and smile, when I live from above. All the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I stretch out my hands and smile, when I live from above. Now the last one you know on your own, which is I'll tell the world. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'll tell the world I don't have money, but life is wonderful and every day is sunny. The trick is this: don't beg from anyone, just live in joy, be free inside. I'll tell the world I don't have money, but life is wonderful and every day is sunny. The trick is this: don't beg from anyone, just live in joy, be free inside. Just live in joy, be free inside. So thank you all. Now, if you could come down and sit here in the front so I can see you. Okay, come on down and off the stage. Can you move that over there so I can see the. Great. So as you can see, we have a dynamic Sunday program now for the children. And we just started with it. And so now we got up to this stage. The next stage is they're going to start to learn some skits. And the next time we have a family program, they're going to perform one of the skits from the stories about this path. So they have a lot of work ahead of them. So a family service should have stories, right? Because not only young people, but some of us older ones too, we learn best with a story. If I give you a long lecture, maybe you might remember a little bit. But if I tell you a good story, you'll probably remember the story. And then if it's a good story, if it has a purpose to it, we can carry it with us. So I'm going to start with 3 stories from Sri Yukteswar. So I think everybody knows that Sri Yukteswar was Paramahansa Yogananda's teacher. And when Yogananda came to him, when he was a fairly young man, he was still a teenager when he found his guru. He was 17 or 18 years old. He had just finished high school. He had his high school diploma. You know the story, kind of a miracle how he was able to pass the exams. It's an interesting story for a teacher to tell how Yogananda actually got his diploma. because it's not exactly the way you would encourage your students to study. But it's a great story. But he got to Sri Yukteswar's hermitage and he wanted to know more about him. And he said, will you please tell me some stories about your childhood? And so he told him 3 stories. He said, each one of these has a moral. Now, do you guys know what a moral is? What's a moral? Perfect. She said a moral is a lesson we get from hearing the story. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to see if you can tell me the lesson. Okay, what's the moral of these stories? So Sri Yukteswar, he was a little boy still. He was probably about 7 or 8 years old. Anybody here 7 or 8 years old? Okay, some just like your age. Okay. And his mother, there was a room in the house that she didn't want him to go in. Maybe she had some special dishes there that she was afraid might get broken, or who knows? We don't know the exact story, but she wanted to keep a little Sri Yukteswar from going in the room. So instead of just telling him, please don't go in the room, she decided she would try to scare him. And she says, don't go in that room because there's a ghost in the room. And Sri Yukteswar, he was only little, he was a little boy, 7 or 8 years old. He just looked at his mother and said, I am not afraid. And he walked right over and opened the door and went in the room. And he turned around and he said, there's no ghost here. And she kind of knew she had made a mistake. So what do you think the moral of that story is? What do you think the lesson of that story is? Go ahead. Okay, what would you say? So you think they shouldn't yet go in the room, okay? Huh? The what? To tell the truth. That's certainly a good lesson from that. Yeah, because she didn't tell the truth. And Sri Yukteswar caught her on that. So that would be one of the lessons. Some of these stories have many different lessons you can get. There's one more lesson in this one that I can think of. Can you think of another lesson? From Sri Yukteswar's point of view. Don't be afraid. Yes. So this is just a story. In this case, it was for a little guy who was 8 years old. Don't be afraid because somebody told him a story about a ghost. But that lesson takes us through all of our lives, because no matter what age you are, there are things that are a little scary that come up in your life. Maybe it's a job challenge, or maybe it's a family challenge, or a health challenge, or all kinds of things come up. And one of the reactions can be fear. Oh, and you shrink. You go back inside. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to look at that. Well, this story is saying that's not the way to go. Look fear in the face. Look at it in the face. Just gather up your courage and say, Swami Kriyananda would always say yes to life. So be accepting these challenges that come into our life. They always have a purpose. They always have a purpose, and they're always there to help us to get stronger, to help us to grow. So we can learn right from the beginning. Don't let yourself get afraid. Don't let yourself find the courage to go out and do the new things, and you'll grow and you'll become the biggest person you can become. Okay? All right, that's the first story. Okay, second story. He, again, probably about 6 years old, 7 years old, and there was a dog that was in the house next door. And he says it was a very, very ugly dog. It was just like he just had probably a big, bunch of wrinkles on his skin and stuff. But Sri Yukteswar saw that dog and he says, I love that dog. I want that dog. I want that dog. I want to have that dog. I need that dog for me. And his parents said, oh, you don't want that dog. First of all, it's a neighbor's dog. It's not even our dog. And he's, I want that dog. I want that dog. And he wouldn't let go. And they said, look at this dog. This dog he's not even pretty. He doesn't play. He doesn't do anything. And Sri Yukteswar he wanted the dog so much. Now the story doesn't say if he actually got the dog or not, but he
the story tells that he really, really wanted that dog. So this is a little harder moral. Can you think of what might be the reason for that lesson? Yeah, it's pretty hard. So he said attachment. He was attached to that dog. He got pulled in. He had a strong link. He said attachment is blinding. Attachment makes you think that something is really good, even if it's not. So like, let's say there's some candy, okay? And you look at the candy and you think, oh, I want that candy. Oh, that's the best candy in the world. I really want this candy. And then maybe finally you get it and you taste it and you realize, ugh. It's like, I don't know if you've read Harry Potter. There's the story about the little candy. And it's instead of just regular strawberry and vanilla, it has things like, let's see, what were some of them? I can't remember the names of them right now, but things that you don't want to eat. So this case, he said, be careful of what you get attached to. He said, if you get attached to something, you kind of give it extra things that it really doesn't have. And you really usually can make a big problem in your life because you start to think, oh, I want to have that thing and I'm going to make my life work in this way. And it affects everybody else in your family. And it's just becomes a big problem that way. So be careful of attachments, whether you're 8 or 80, right? Be careful of attachments. They have the same power to them. Okay, last story from Sri Yukteswar. He said, this is about, again, something his mother said. So from these stories, his mother doesn't come off real well. She doesn't come off as a real wonderful example to follow, but she was in his life and he grew from her. So she told him at one point, he was probably a teenager at this point, so he's probably about 14 or 15, said, never work for anybody. If you work for somebody else, you're to become a slave. Never take a job. And he said that he was open at that moment, and the idea just sunk in. And he just started operating that way. He wouldn't take a job. And he did real estate on his own. He had some family real estate that he was in charge of, and that made enough money for them to live on. But later in life, he looked at it and he said, "Oh, that's not true. That's not true that you become a slave just because you work for somebody else." He says, when I was open, and I just accepted it. I just let that thought come in, and it affected my life. So I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you. A thought comes into your life, and you don't think about it. You just let it sit there. What he's saying here is, be active with your mind. When something comes in, stop and think about it and see, do you agree with this? Now, one of the things that happens, especially when you're young, but also when you're older, is your friends will say something. The friends say, "Oh, I really like this movie," or "I really like this teacher," or something like that. And so if you're not thinking, you automatically say, "Oh, well, I'll like it too. I'll go along with it." It's called Yogananda has a little scale of willpower, and one of the scales is unthinking will. Unthinking will is when you just go along with what everybody else is doing and you don't stop and think for yourself. So here he's saying, stop and take things, look at them. If you agree, great, go along with it. If you don't agree, hold your line. Just stop and say, okay, maybe it's okay for you, but not for me. Don't ever get controlled by anyone else. Perfect. That's the way you would say the moral of this story. You be in charge of yourself, okay? Every step of the way, trying to think it through. You want to be open to other people's ideas. You want to see, because you want to say, well, maybe they're right. But if you don't agree with them, stand up for what you feel is right. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Anybody can think of an example of somebody who's very famous who stood up for what they thought was right, even though it was hard? You think of any, some people are famous that way? Well, who is the one that got this country going? Who do you know? You ever hear of Mahatma Gandhi? So he had to stand up. He had this vision that India should be independent. And it wasn't a very popular vision when he started, but he stood up and he didn't listen to other people. Other people might say, oh, it's easier, let's just stay, let the British run things. And he said, no, and that's not going to happen. And he had such strength that other people started to get drawn in and went that way. There's wonderful examples all around when you study history in school. There's a man named Nelson Mandela who did the same thing for his country, for South Africa. And he was a wonderful, powerful man. He was a person that he was put in jail for 25 years for his ideas. When Gandhi was in jail for a few years, maybe, I don't know how the total was, maybe a couple of years altogether. Nelson Mandela was in jail for 25 years. And he had every reason to get resentful about the people that put him in jail, because all he wanted was freedom for his country. But they didn't want him to have that freedom, as they put him in jail, and they kept him there. And he learned a lesson. Yes, go ahead. He was the second foreigner to get the what? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, wonderful. So anyway, when he got out of prison, he had a saying that I really love. He said, resentment, when you get upset with other people and you're resentful, you're angry with them, you want to get revenge, which he had every right to do. You would think, here he was, he didn't do anything wrong, but they threw him in jail for 25 years. That's all. You would think he would get pretty upset with that. But he had learned, he said, resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it kills your enemy. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it harms your enemy. He knew that feeling bad about thinking bad thoughts about somebody else doesn't really hurt them, but it hurts you because you're carrying around that anger and that, like forgiveness. Anybody ever work on forgiveness? When everybody has somebody that does something to us that we don't like, okay? And if we don't forgive them, we build up this anger and we get so upset and we carry it around. It actually makes our stomachs upset, probably can hurt our health, all kinds of things. So forgiveness is one of those qualities that is very, very important to practice because it helps us. It's like the best medicine for us. So remember that whenever you start to feel upset with somebody, that you want to practice forgiveness. Okay, so those are the three stories from Sri Yukteswar. I had one other story I wanted to work on today, which is one of my favorite stories, and you probably all know it. It took place not very far from here. It's a place called Vrindavan. How many people have been to Vrindavan? Have you been to Vrindavan? Adults too. Probably everybody in the room has been to Vrindavan. Okay. So there was a story that happened in Yogananda's life called Two Penniless Boys in Vrindavan. And it's one of the great stories from Autobiography of a Yogi. So Yogananda, again, he's about 17 at this point. He's just getting ready to go to Sri Yukteswar's hermitage. He's finished high school. He spent a little bit of time in an ashram in Varanasi. But now he's met his guru, and he's going to go down and start his really focused spiritual work. But on the way, he stops in Agra. Most of you have been in Agra also. It's where his older brother is living. Yes, go ahead. You were what? Oh, I couldn't hear him. Oh, okay. So you've been to Agra both. Yeah, not too far. They're not too far. They're all close in this part of India. So he stopped in at his brother's house. And his brother was interesting. His brother's quite a bit older than him, maybe at least 8 or 9 years older than he was. So Yogananda is about 17. His brother's about 25. And his brother is a very successful business person. He has a job working for the railroad. He makes good money, and he has a nice house. And here, his younger brother, Mukunda is his name at this point, he doesn't want to go into business. He wants to go a different way. He wants to say, I want to spend my life looking for God. I want to make God the most important thing. And his big brother says, well, that's a nice dream, but you got to be practical. You have to be practical, and you might as well learn to make money and have a big bank account, and life will be much better for you. And Yogananda says, I'm not interested. And his brother looks at him and says, I want to teach you a lesson. He doesn't say it out loud. He's thinking in his mind, I need to teach my younger brother a lesson. Probably a good motive. He's trying to do what he thinks works in life. So he says to him, I want to give you a challenge. And in my challenge, I want you and your friend here, Yogananda was traveling with his friend. He said, I want you and your friend to go to Vrindavan, and I want you to spend the whole day there and then come back to me. But I don't want you to take any money. I don't want you to take a single rupee. And when you go, I'm going to give you 2 train tickets. And you go on the train, you have to go to Vrindavan. You have to get food, and you have to find a way back here, but you can't have money, and you can't beg. You have to depend on this God that you talk about all the time. You say God will take care of you. I want to test this. I want to show you, see if this really happens. And so it was a challenge. It wasn't something that Yogananda went and said, hey, I'm going to show off that I know how God's going to take care of me. It was a challenge by his big brother. He said, I don't think your way of life works. Here, we're going to test it out. So Yogananda said, all right, let's test it out. Let's see what happens. And Ananta, the brother, said, well, if by any luck it actually happens that you do get back here, I'm going to accept you as my guru, which is very unusual for an older brother to accept his younger brother that way. So they go out. He gives them the tickets. They puts them on the train, and they start going off. Well, Yogananda's friend gets very nervous. He says, we're going to starve to death. We don't have any money, and we're just going to go out there on the train. We don't know anybody. We don't have any place to eat. And Yogananda says, don't have more faith in God. God is going to take care of us. And just at that moment, the compartment door opens, and these 2 men come in the apartment. And they look at them and they say, oh, hello, how are you 2 guys? And they said, we're fine. And the man, it turns out these 2 men are not just ordinary people. They work for a very wealthy lady who lives in Vrindavan. And this lady has planned this incredible celebration for 2 young princes, very high up people. But at the last minute, the princes can't come. Their schedules change. And we can go, how did that happen? So they came into the compartment, and they're thinking in the back of their mind, we have this meal that this lady is prepared. She's put a lot of work into this meal, but there's nobody to come. And they see the 2 boys, and they say, maybe you 2, how would you 2 like to come with us? And we'd like to take you to this house. Well, you would think in this situation that both boys would say, wow, yes, look at God's taking care of us. Let's just go along for it. But that's not how Yogananda responded. He says, no, he says, don't bother us. We're doing fine. He turned it down. This is his big chance to have us be taken care of. But he didn't want to, what's the word? He didn't want to plead with God or say, oh, really, you took care of me? He wants to go with confidence that, no, God will take care of me. I don't have to plead. I know that God will take care of me. I just have the confidence in him. Well, the 2 men, they don't give up. They don't say anything else, but when his train stops at the train station, they grab the 2 boys by the arms, they link arms, and they just walk off the train together, and they hire a taxi, and they get on the taxi together, and they just escort them, take them to this big house, this big mansion. And there's this lady there, and she's prepared a huge banquet. There's like all kinds of foods, everything you could imagine, desserts, all the different things that people would want to have. Yogananda says it was the biggest meal of his whole life. There was more food there than he ever had at any other meal. And so they have this wonderful meal. It didn't cost them a single rupee. And they can't even tell the lady how grateful they are, because they're sworn to secrecy on this. They can't say what the test is that they're going through. But so they leave after the meal. They thank her and they walk out, and it's really hot. It's really hot. And the friend, as soon as they get outside, Yogananda's friend says, "Well, that was lucky. That was lucky. We got a nice meal, but now what are we going to do? We still don't have any money. And we're stuck in Vrindavan, and it's going to be horrible." And just at that moment, there's a young man walking down the street, and he walks up, and he says, "Hello, how are you?" And pranams to them. He pranam back, and he says, "Hi, I would just feel drawn to you. I'd like to spend some time with you." And Yogananda says, "Well, we're busy." Again, he kind of just doesn't just jump in and grab him. He just said, "Well, look, yeah, we're kind of busy." But the man said, "No, I really want to spend time with you. And would you please let me take you around Vrindavan?" He said, I know the place. I live here. I can take you to all the spots where Krishna and Radha were. And well, I would just really appreciate if you'd let me do that." And so finally they say, "Well, all right, you can take us around." And so they get in the chariot. He takes them all around, every single place they would want to go in Vrindavan, all the temples and all the places by the Yamuna. And so they're getting to do what they were challenged to do. They were supposed to be able to tour Vrindavan without having to spend money. And so now they're getting the tour. So now they've done two things. They've got food and they've had the tour, but they don't have a way back. They don't have any money to buy a ticket back, and they're not going to be able to let them on the train without a ticket, right? So they're stuck. And so the friend, Yogananda's friend, gets nervous again. He said, "Well, that was pretty amazing, but that was just blind luck again. I don't know what we're going to do." Well, the boy that's showing them around says, "Oh, would you wait here, please?" And he goes, and he knows that they're from Vrindavan. I mean, from Agra. And he goes and he disappears. When he comes back, he's got a basket of food for their dinner, and he's got 2 train tickets, and then a bunch of rupees just on top, just for a gift. He says, "Please, would you please accept this from me?" He says, "I feel so blessed by being with you today." Turns out that he wanted to be Yogananda's disciple, and actually took Kriya from him that day, and there by the train station. So at the end of the day, they're in the train station. Now there's the tickets. So they put the tickets, they get on the train, they go back, they come to Agra, they come up to Yogananda's brother's place, and they walk in the door and they put the money on the table. and when they walked in, Ananta, the brother, he's just dumbfounded. He just, how could that possibly happen? And he says, "Did you rob a bank?" And but then Yogananda says, "No, tell the story." So the friend tells the story of everything that happened that day. And Ananta just was so amazed. He says, "All right, I'll keep my promise." And he says, "I will take discipleship from you. And I think your God that you talk about is much, much stronger than I thought. And I'm going to try to learn your way from that." So amazing story of God working with us in our lives. And we want to try to do the same thing. We want to make a space that when something comes up in our life that needs attention, needs energy, could be a school test. Everybody's got exams now, the older kids at least. It can be a time when we need extra money or something else. But we want to just remember stories like that and remember, oh, that wasn't just working because of Yogananda. That's a thing that I can use in my life too. I can hope my life will also take that direction. Okay, so stories, 4 stories. What was the first story? About the what? About the ghost. The first story was about the ghost and the moral was to be not afraid. Second story was about the dog, the ugly dog. What was the moral? About attachments, the danger of attachments, making things look better than they are. Third story. The what? Home business. Yeah, right. Don't, yeah. When somebody told him, his mother told him a story or something that wasn't very helpful. And he learned to think for yourself. Don't just listen to what everybody else says. And then, of course, the last story about two penniless boys in Brindavan. I don't have money, but life is wonderful and every day is sunny. Okay, so let's close by sitting up for some moment. Okay, so I'd like to invite all the families, the parents too, to come up to the front of the room. We're gonna have a little celebration. Families are especially important on this spiritual path. For those of you who know Yogananda, part of his vision for what would be helpful in this day was this time in history was spiritual community. And he called them World Brotherhood colonies. And the idea was to create a whole lifestyle based around the spiritual principles. And you guys are doing a wonderful job of, I get the WhatsApp messages and there's things happening here all the time for all different people. But the thing that makes World Brotherhood colonies come alive is families and children. And without them, it can be nice, but there's a lot of nice things in the world. There's a lot of places where men and women come together to practice spiritual teachings. But when you have children involved, it takes it to a whole other level because children have a special gift that they bring with them, the gift of childlikeness. And there are many, many places in the scriptures where it says to become childlike is to become saintly. And so by being around children, we can learn those qualities. We can see those energies that come out. I've had the incredible blessing. My basically all my whole adult life has been working with children, and I find that it's continually inspiring. The innocence, the trust, the just simple joy is just it's powerfully helpful for me personally. So I'm going to ask all the families to come up here in front, and we're going to bless the families as a congregation. Parents can come up with their children. Okay. Great. So now all the rest of us, we want to just basically focus our energy and our appreciation for the energy, for the blessings that the families and the children bring into our group. Okay, so rub our hands together. We'll do 3 ohms. Oh. Oh. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you all. We can go out now.
We'll have now Prasad in their room. Let's proceed over there and chat with Nitai ji more. Thank you, Nitai ji, for this wonderful satsang. And